see a light or something. I know, pull up in the light. You got your sunroof. Open it, open it, open it. Right, so go in that parking lot. Open it, open it, open it, open it. That nigga Benito joined on his damn own. Benito joined on his own. Benito said, I'm gonna just pull up on your ass. Let me see. Insane just joined on their own too. He just joined. Y'all can still see me? Y'all can see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Bro.
need you to stop driving around.
Hey, bro, I was
I'm,
thinking, hey, look, I was
I'm
thinking
just
the
trying to
same
get in a
thing.
place where my light is straight. My light is straight
Hey,
sitting in the car. I don't
hey,
have to
look,
use the light. I'm in the
hey, look,
parking lot. I'm about to stop.
hey, look, I was thinking the same thing, bro. This dude called, he got ADHD, bro, just driving around. Sit still, doggy. You know what I'm
About to.
saying?
I'm about to play off. All right, we're going to sit right here. That shit right here. Let me move my seat up.
Dude.
I'm just trying to position myself so I don't have to turn my light on. I think it should be crazy. All right. So for YouTube, let me just turn the light on, but it should. I think that's what I had to do. All right. So for YouTube, welcome everybody on YouTube and on whatever platform I choose to put this on. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick. This is why I introduce y'all. On the bottom left, this is my homie Benito. Met him on Xbox some years back, Benito. And on the bottom right, we have Insane, aka Eugene.
No, man, don't
And,
be telling people my government name.
and this is my homies, and we're gonna have a discussion, and from a perspective, really, I'm gonna let Eugene lead the way to a degree, and I'm gonna try to pick his brains. The video is all about God the Creator, and how he correlates in his how he correlates and how would you what would you title this video, given what I told you it was going to be about? What would you say? You get what I'm trying to say, Insane? What would you title this
Kind of. I mean,
video?
it's still your
God
thing, what you want to do and call
God
it.
is an engineer. What would you call God from your perspective as a
Wait, before you answer that, in terms of the title,
computer
it would be like
programmer?
something. It would be something about like perspective, right? Because I would argue that everybody lives in their own world. We all live in our own world. We all live in our own minds. We all think certain things, and we're not on the same page of what we think and what we determine
Perspective.
certain things to be. Perspective. It's all about perspective. And on top of being different perspectives on what this individual entity is, we also have different definitions for each word, because we might be saying the same words, the exact same words, but we might have a difference in terms of definition of those words. But to
Right, you got to
answer
be on the
the
same
original
page.
thing you just said, I would say he's a great spirit, an engineer, an architect. Has to be an engineer, because I myself am a software engineer. So when it comes for me to build things from start to finish, from scratch, or reverse engineer things, right? I'm taking other code and programming and trying to understand it, trying to modify it or change it or update it. I need to understand its true intentions at first. And I also need to
Intention. I think
understand,
that's key. Intentions is key.
yes, and I also need to understand how it's working, right? Because a lot of it might be code that I haven't created that's already been there at the company for XYZ amount of time frame
Can I
by
say this
other
real quick? I don't
engineers.
mean to cut you
Yeah.
off. Don't go too deep. I was still trying to introduce and tell her what the video is about. You jump. I mean, bro, I know you're gonna talk forever. So let me. So I just want to have like grab like a title. I don't mean to cut you off. So you would title it what now, or what would you say about this being in like a few short words, and then I'm gonna say something about 2P.
Something about other perspectives, because that's what it is. There's three of us in here. Obviously, all of us three are going to have different perspectives, and there's
All right, Dean. You really kind of like dodging my question and ducking like we in a boxing match. So what I'm saying, I think God is an architect, like he said. He is an engineer. He is a coder, for lack of a better. He life is almost like what people call. I really don't want to say. I wanted to really insane to say this because it's really something I got from him. And God is he is a coder. He is this is like a simulation to him, or it's a simulation.
It could be, but like you said, God, like we've already had this conversation multiple times on Xbox Live. The term God, I don't agree with that term. I don't believe in that term, and if anything, I believe that's not the true spirit.
I understand that, and I'm just trying to get trying to stick to a certain topic, and I understand that makes perfect sense. All relative. What you call God and what, brother, I totally understand that. I'm trying to stay a little bit on topic, but 2Piece is also here, and I believe he can add something great. Say what's up,
Hey, how's it going?
Let's see, everybody in TV land, right? So anytime you want to chime in, let's try to be as respectful as possible. I have a hard time with that sometimes when it comes to letting people talk and finish and all that. Let's try to be respectful as possible and let people finish and get their full thought and convey it. And then I guess if you have something to say, you can go like that, and I see you and the person to stop and add whatever they want to add. But let's get it rolling. So back to what you were saying, and saying you're the center focus. This is your perspective that I want to convey. What I'm trying to achieve here with this video is I want to convey God is this great and awesome ruler, right? And glorify his name and make him look great and magnificent from the perspective of how Insane sees it. So Insane, you were talking about perspective, and we know it's all relative how we see God, specific to that person that's beholding or like viewing the information and interpreting it, right? So God want to make him look great and awesome and magnificent and glorify his name. And what am I going to say? I'm going to glorify his name. And I want your perspective, because I believe that from your profession and the way you see things, I think you're a smart guy anyway, and the way you see things, you told me, elaborate on this a little bit, but let me finish this and then elaborate. I want you to elaborate on how you told me that everything is math and science, and God from the perspective of creating and using numbers, and how you told me that like when somebody's program a video game is all logic and stuff like that. So goal is to glorify God and to motivate and inspire, and so you can see the greatness of God and how he is and does exist. So with that, take it away, Insane, and explain how God is a computer programmer in your eyes. I know you want to be respectful, but I want your perspective and how you see it, not necessarily anybody else's when you're saying relative and about perspective. I want yours.
So for the viewers that will eventually watch your video, I personally, just like in the beginning when I talked about perspective and definitions, this is just my perspective. I have no evidence. This is just my personal interpretation about life and experiences, connections with things. So as I said in the beginning about definitions, everybody has a different definition. Like you continuously like to use the word God because you believe that to be a term to define what you believe is the great creator. I personally don't believe that the great creator is called a God. I think a human being can be a God. I think human beings idolize and worship other things as to be gods.
So
Therefore,
one thing,
yeah.
thing. Use your term from now on, or what you want to call it
Yes.
when you talk about it.
So that, and then cutting off to what the terms I would like to use again, because this is my perspective, right? There's billions of human beings around the world who have different perspectives and opinions and definitions, etc. And that's something human beings should all collectively keep in mind. But I personally like to use the spirit, the energy. Energy was a lot that I used since I was a kid. The intuition, energy, intuition, spirit, architect, an engineer. Engineer and architect were probably the most that I used to, because like Juan was saying, from my profession as a software engineer, when it comes to coding, one thing that I realized, I think it was about like my mid-20s, not mid-20s, early 20s actually, I remember seeing a video on viruses, and it was just a documentary on viruses, and I saw, for those who do remember in classes, when you're shown like under a microscope how a virus looks, it looks like a little robot alien, a little UFO looking thing, and it's just walking around in the body, doing its, in anybody, right? Not a human being, anything.
Microscopic, right?
Up on, at a microscopic level, when they're looking at viewing this virus is a little robot thing, and it's going about doing its functions. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be as designed.
Wow.
And that
Wow.
once I saw that video, that's when it clicked into my mind, you know, because at the time I wouldn't say I was completely atheist, but I was most definitely super agnostic. Kind of am in a way, but I saw that as like, hey,
Two-Piece? He freezing a little bit for you, Two-Piece?
Just a little
am I
bit.
freezing?
Just a little bit.
You free? You buy good
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, man.
I was on Wi-Fi. I switched to Wi-Fi, but now I guess it's freezing.
Early you wasn't freezing, but
Hold on.
Two-Piece said he got that super internet. His shit super
Hey,
straight.
hey, look, I got
I got off of Wi-Fi. I'm going back to just regular.
I got the Wi-Fi extenders. I got one right here, right next to me, Dougie. You know what I'm saying?
Two-Piece be boasting on us,
But
man.
but to finish off what I was saying, when I saw that, then it made me realize, you know, everything, and actually even I think even Ted had said this. This is why I kind of clicked. Everything's created for something, for a reason.
Perfect.
As an engineer, right, specifically a software engineer, when we create programs and applications, none of it just is a Big Bang theory. None of it just comes out of nowhere, out of thin air. Everything is designed for a reason. Everything that is designed to has algorithm and math behind it that we need to figure out and understand and know to simulate what we would do in the real world into the software world at an application level, when you're designing and creating a lot of logic and math to create the video games, the apps,
So hold on.
all these applications that you're on.
Down. Can I get you to slow down? I want you to explain how everything you say is logic and math, and like, I don't think you use science. I don't know if you use science. You use logic and math. What do you mean by that? And correlate that to the energy or the great spirit that you call God.
So when I'm talking about math, logic, and how all these things are designed for a reason, for example, when you're playing a game, any kind of game where you're jumping, when you jump, the character jumps X amount of whatever amount, right? There's an amount to it, X amount from the floor to the air, whatever
I
point in the air.
I want to mess with you a little bit. What do you mean by amount? I want to mess with you.
Amount that I don't know. I didn't create the application.
I knew it. You know how I knew that? Because when you said amount, right? So something clicked to me. What does he mean by amount? So the amount is whatever you decide that amount is by definition. amount could be like a building, or right? Am I right? Or the jump a bit. When you say the jump X amount. So explain. So you say you don't know what amount is, right? Explain. Kind of explain how you don't know then.
I don't know because I didn't create any of the games. I haven't created any of those
So in the
applications.
game, you create what would amount be when you
The amount would be a variable
yeah.
in the game. It would be an actual
There you go.
variable.
There you go. It's a
That
variable, yeah.
variable then holds a value.
Right.
In the game, like jump, the game in a game. Oh, I keep burping. At an application level, you're going to have a function. When you click that A button, because mostly A is a jump button, once you click that A, that then has to send a signal from your controller to the system. That then holds values and numbers to it
So
that feeds into the system.
so what I hear you saying is when we jump, it's a what? It's a what did you say? A not a variable, but it has a value. So God has given me the ability to jump X amount of height, I guess, or to have. Can you relate that to God real quick when it comes
Yes.
to
So,
Him giving
like in a
us
game, you can.
abilities and
Yeah. So in a game, right, you can set it to like 10 feet. Let's say you're a character in a game that can jump 10 feet from the ground. It's because the application, the engineer, me and others who are programmers, we wrote it in the system to allow you to jump X feet or 10 feet off the ground. Now, if we take it to the real world and try to interpret that, it actually be a lot more complex because you, me, and Two Piece, I bet I probably jumped the highest out of all two of you. But if we grab an athlete,
so see,
if we get LeBron James, Kobe, and all these dudes, those dudes are jumping way more higher than me, right? But that's because and the values are different from us for each of us because then there's skills, there's the knowledge of the skills of how to really jump. Then it's because of the muscles, certain muscles in your body that allow you to push further off the ground and higher into the air, right? That all of that has to be in order to really be able to simulate all three of us plus those athletes into a game like real world, real time.
a lot of work.
That requires a lot more math and understanding of the body and the metrics and the force that is done.
Correlated to God.
Right? This is all math and this is knowledge known to so-called science, but then the question is who designed it that way? Somebody had to have created that for a reason. Somebody looked at a human body and an anatomy and created the bones, the density, the amount of muscles in certain places. And if you train those muscles an X amount of time, then you're going to be able
to
is that? What would you increase that amount by way.
They gave your muscles like a value of how
everything in your body is a value. The bone, the muscles, the blood, your blood type. Everything. Somebody did. I don't. And I as an engineer, looking at the human body, a lot of people are probably going to think of the Big Bang Theory and evolution and all this other, in my opinion, bullshit. I don't know if I could say that, but BS. It's really BS because somebody created that. Somebody had to have thought this out and said, hey, the human body needs to have this. It needs to have these muscles. It needs to have this as that X, Y, Z. And then give it ABC values to those XYZ variables.
Two Piece, you have anything to add? That shit cold to me. That shit, like what Insane saying, that shit cold. You got anything to add, Two Piece?
No, not right now.
Okay. When it comes to God, right, and Him being the creator, when you say everything is math, so when you say everything, do you mean absolutely everything that exists is math and was created? So explain what you mean by that.
So right now, when we're looking at each other, how this application is interpreting data, it's pulling in data and then it's outputting that data to all these phones around the world. So there's networking, there's a bunch of things. There's already math at a technological level. Now pull that out and let's look at ourselves right now in the real world.
Right,
Just me
right,
moving
right.
these fingers just like this, me talking with my lips are moving, and you can kind of see my tongue a little, then a little bit of my teeth, everything, all that movement. That's math occurring right now, and you don't even know it, right? Because in order for this to be realistic at a video game level, right? When you need to simulate that into an application, you need to understand the algorithms and the math that you need to know to make these fingers stay still. Well, the object when you create it is already standing still
Define
when you make it
define
this way.
define algorithm.
An algorithm, I don't know. We would have to Google algorithm. I can't think of the actual definition at the top of my head,
He
but an algorithm
he's
is
smart,
some.
but he's smart, but he's dumb too.
I'm
I,
I'm no different than other human beings. Like,
I get it, bro. Sometimes you'll say a word and you know the definition, but it's hard to put it in words to explain that word. I got you.
but either way, these fingers have to move the way in a certain way, and they're moving differently too, right? Each of the fingers are different. There's going to be different functions and values for each of them.
Right.
But you, there's math to it when you're doing it in the real world. Now you got to grab that algorithms to get those numbers to be able to output it to these objects in the system so that they can then
This is,
be simulated to you in the virtual world so
so
that you
guess
can see
what?
it the way that you see it.
You just used the key word. You said system. Your body is what? A system, right? When you say your body is a system,
Mm, kind of, kind of.
or you could say the system of how your organs work, right? Would you agree with that? Your system of how it works. They have functions. They correlate with each other, and then the system is something that happens over and over. It can be predicted. Um, I don't know the quite like you said, like I said earlier. I don't know what the word system means, but to use words to off the top of my head to put it in, but I think it has something to do with you can recognize it, right? It's something that happens as a pattern over and over again, and it can be predicted. It can maybe be manipulated and changed, but to define it, it's the system of how your heart, lungs, your cardiovascular system works, and that's what they call cardiovascular system. And I think more than that, there's other systems and things, even with your brain and your mind, of how things work. And I think that's kind of what I hear you saying.
I would argue that the brain is the system. The rest of
Oh
your
yeah.
body is nothing but hardware, various hardware devices or other subsystems to the main system, which is your
Let
brain.
me say this though, real quick. I would argue this that just based off of what you've been saying today, right now, that everything there is a system. So beings like us, we work in systems, and we have order of how we operate in the earth, how we conduct ourselves when it comes to I don't know, everyday life, right? So that we have systems of like school and how everything works and how you get here, right, and get there. And I would argue that everything that there is a system. So God created the universe, and according to like the books and the Bible, Quran, He created everything that there is, right? So on a surface level, when you talk about the word create and then everything, so when you say everything, what does that mean? And saying two piece, what does that mean when somebody say everything as a base when you use that word?
Boy, everything's everything. Like
Right. So
stars,
so
space,
so
whatever
what?
you
So
want to
hold up.
believe. You know what
So
I'm
let
saying?
me so let me fuck with you a little bit. So does that mean he created the space that he put the shit in? So let you know, like deep, dark, murky space, like where the planets are floating. Did he create this space that they're in?
Well, I think the space that we're in, but see, that's a whole different point. I don't even know
But
if there is a space.
hold
You get
up.
what I'm saying?
Okay, so when they show you what it looks like outside of our planet, and it's dark and murky, and everything is floating, and like how they, you know what I'm saying? So what do you think of that? What would you call that? I would call it outer space, right? We don't call it outer space,
I mean, that's what they call it. You know.
right? But what would you call it?
I mean, for the most people, you know what I'm saying? That's what they call it. Yeah.
So what is that in your book? Is outer space to you? You would say that's outer space too?
You know what? That made me think of something.
uh,
So
what would I
I
think?
said I posed this question to mess with you a little bit because guess what? I'm trying to get at, did he create the stuff that's in outer space that, like the slate? So look, let's say you got an empty room and then I put a bunch of boxes in it. So the empty room is the slate, the space that I'm putting the boxes. So outer space is the slate or the plane in which he's placing reality. So did he, or this physical reality at least, did he create the space that he's putting the stuff in?
I mean, if you believe in the Most High, He created everything, in,
There you
out,
mind. Okay, I ain't want to
everything.
say I ain't want to say that. I almost just ruined the whole. But look, my dog, listen. Hey, that's what I would say, and that's what I want you to say, and I agree with that because it says everything. It says he created everything. Now,
Yeah.
when you try to rationalize it and pick your own brain and think about it in your own brain, don't lose your thought in saying what you was going to say. So, but when you say that right, everything is everything. It's everything. What was you
Yeah.
going to say, Insane?
I was gonna say now that reminds me. I saw a video on YouTube where somebody showed like another because you know how when it comes to um, the depths of oceans, right? We're told that we still haven't, there's so much of the
It's
oceans we
really
haven't
deep
discovered.
that you haven't
It's
seen.
very
Yeah.
deep. It's very dark. You don't even know what's down there. You don't even want to know. And they still find new species in the oceans, right? And
Right.
they showed a video of another some
But you
kind
ever seen
of
those fishes? I'm sorry, but you ever seen the fish that look like really evil? It's like an anglerfish. He has like this little light above it, and he go like this, and he got his
yeah
really sharp
yeah
teeth. He
Yeah.
got crazy, but his face looked crazy. But he looked like he like the evil incarnate of all fishes. But go ahead, I mean, 'cause I just want to say that.
yeah. Hold on, let me drink some water. I'm thirsty.
But yeah, bro, that like I was
Yeah,
saying
but
before though.
So
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead,
so
Pete.
that
no, go ahead. Let him
Go
say
ahead.
finish. Let him say
so
finish.
that in this video it showed another species. And it was like it wasn't like that one where it had the little antenna with the light. It was just a regular fish, like body fish, and it was like see through. It was clear, but as it was see translucent, if you will, if I think that's the better term to say it, it was like lighting up within its body, and it was
Yeah,
just
I seen one of those
moving
before.
around. And when it did that, it made the ocean look like outer space. And then when you guys were talking about it, it made me remind me of that video of what I saw, and it just made me think the term outer space, it's out of our space. And if you think about that right now, this is where it clicked in my mind. And I just had this conversation in Mexico when it came to talking to my cousin who took me to a pyramid in Michoacan. And this
Michoacan.
pyramid in Michoacan, it's the biggest one in Michoacan, but nobody talks about it. Nobody knows about it. They just know the one over by Cancun, the main one. And this one, it's not as big as those other ones, but it's not as excavated either. And there needs to be more excavated. And I told them, well, then that makes sense because they want you to look in a certain place and not look at these other places. And this is why it's probably not funded because who knows what's in this pyramid that still has so much more to be excavated and discovered, but they can't because they don't have funds and they're not helping them to excavate it. So it's just sitting there doing nothing. It made me think about the sea and what you guys were talking about, outer space. Everybody thinks outer space is, outside of space and
But can
above
I
us.
chime
And
in real quick? Chime in.
yeah,
So they say outer space, and you, by definition, you said outer space is outer our space, right? But who
yeah, out
says
of
it's
our
out?
space.
But they said that, and that's what they said is out of our space.
Exactly. So
Who told you, God or the energy or the Great Spirit, like you say? He might not say it's out of your space. You might be able to do all kind of things, especially like dealing with the fall, the
yeah,
man, and all. Who told you it's out of that? They said it's
exactly.
out of our
Now,
space.
now,
That's not
now
what you said.
you have some other people defining to you what this word means and what it's supposed to mean to them,
Uh,
right? Defining it unto you, therefore indoctrinating you and telling you, and for you know what's
You have
so-called
access
outer
to it.
space
You have access
really,
to it. Good. You
really,
might have
really,
access.
really isn't what it should be called in that terms, or maybe doesn't really even exist out there. It's probably controversial to others, but maybe outer space is down there in the oceans. Maybe that's the true outer space. Maybe that's where the true
Oh,
aliens
you get
are.
way, you
And
get
in,
way,
in,
you
in,
get
in the
way too
terms of,
deep. You get way too
well,
deep for them.
it's way too deep, but it's a thing to think
Not for
about
me. Not
when
for me.
you
I'm just saying. I'm
well,
probably
for
saying for
others, yeah,
somebody else.
it's people probably don't hear this shit that much, but it's something to
I think
think
that's why
about.
I wanted. That's why I wanted Benito to get on too, because he think deep like that sometimes. For somebody like, what the hell is
Hey,
this you talking about?
hey, look, just to chime in a little bit on that part, bro. Um, we don't have the technology to go that deep into the water yet. So if we can't explore what we could basically see, and we're supposedly standing on it, right?
Right.
How the hell are we gonna go into outer space, or what they call? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well,
The
if
the
you
re,
if you
the reason I guess you started talking about outer space. Did I bring up outer space? Yeah, I was talking about everything, right? But like you were saying, I think everything is a system. I think everything is a system. I think there's angels, there's other beings, but they're all designed for a purpose. Like you said before in the beginning when you was talking about those little microorganisms, those little bacteria, whatever you call them, right?
viruses,
Viruses, right? So everything has a purpose. It was all created and designed. I don't want to skew
somebody created it.
yeah. So I don't want to skew too far from the topic of discussion and the title of the video. Supposed to be God, the
Well, it's not
cosmic
really, right? Because we're talking about things
God or the
that
Great
exist.
Spirit, the
Somebody had
cosmic
to create them.
engineer, or whatever you want to call him. He could just be a being, and that what we see him, and let me say this. So, kind of in the vein of what you was talking about, right? In the vein, you say God, right? So, God is a term that humans decided that they want to call this being who's greater than us all, who
Yes,
created everything, who created
yes.
everything. So, hey, I'm with you on that. I might not want to call him God, but for humans and their understanding, what they choose to call this being, this cosmic, like engineer, coder, architect, master of everything, right? Is that what they choose to call him, right? But when it comes to that, uh, he, you had something to add and say?
No, I was going to say that what we're saying is all still relative because at the end of the day, we're talking about this engineer that created and designed everything.
Right.
Had to, if not, if somebody's going to make the argument that hey, no, viruses weren't created by an engineer or a great being, a great entity, or AKA this God, the term I don't like to use, then the question would then have to be, well, then who created it?
Why don't you
Right? They're going to
like the
go to
term God? Let me
evolution
ask
and
you
all
that.
this other nonsense, which I disagree because this Big Bang theory is nonsense. It doesn't make sense that
Let me ask
everything
you this
created
then.
from.
Since you went in that vein, how do you know there's a God who created all of this stuff? How do you know? And I'm gonna ask you the same thing, and
So
two pieces, see your perspective on that. How do you know? Why do you believe there's a God?
I believe that there's
A great spirit or
a great
creator.
spirit that created the majority of things that we have now because as an engineer who creates things, right? And just
Uh-huh.
looking at things right now in my room, this, monitor, this Xbox that my Xbox is connected to, the laptop, the lights, the furniture, like a dresser, the bed, the cobijas on my bed,
Yo, what?
uh,
What is that?
cobijas, the covers.
Bro, what is this dude talking
In
about?
Spanish, that's what it means in Spanish.
Bro, I thought you said something
Everything was
but
created by
that
human
sound
beings.
like something sexual. The
No,
Cahuza.
it's
What is
not.
it?
Cobijas is not sexual at
Bro, I
all.
like to see her Kawihas.
All right.
Nah, bruh.
You're
Come on, bruh.
stupid. You're stupid.
Come on, man. Stay on topic, bruh. See, bro. Stay on topic. Let's go. Come
It,
on.
I'm a
the,
Negro, bro. I'm a
so,
Negro. I can't help
so everything is designed for a purpose, right? The dresser was designed with wood and some metal and so on and so forth, so that you can keep your clothes in, or to store your clothes in. The monitor was designed to connect to other systems like an Xbox or a laptop to then project output information that it gets pulled in from the cable that's connected from your device, and then output it so you can see it. The bed was designed to be comfortable to sleep on, and then the covers on top of it. So everything is designed for a purpose, right? Now I have right now my phone connected to.
Because of purpose, you saying that's how you know that there's a.
Yes, that's how I know. It would have to be.
Wow.
Then
Wow. That's
what's
excellent.
funny is we can sit, human beings, even if you're like an atheist or agnostic or whatever, you can sit there and make the argument of how a phone is designed, and keep going to science to describe it. Now you would actually have to look at the human body and the human, not only just the human body, the human emotions, the way human beings interact with one another, others, and live day-to-day life. You would then have to try to explain how human beings got to the point where they're at, and evolution is most definitely not going to prove any of that bullshit. It's already been proven. Somebody sat there and articulated how all these human beings are going to be the way that it's designed, and then just think about how different we look collectively, and how when we do mix, how we still then look further different from one another. You know, the amount of genetics that occurs that makes all these differences. And it's crazy how even with genetics, right, people aren't going to always look like their parents. An example would be my nephew. My nephew doesn't, in my opinion, right, doesn't really look like my sister or his dad. But when I look at pictures of my grandfather from my mother's side, when I look at pictures of my grandfather when he was a kid in comparison to my nephew, they look like identical. Almost like 100% identical, and that's genetics, right? Genetics is a crazy, cool, fun thing to look at too. Somebody designed all of this for a reason, and for it to be the way that it is, whether it's chance, whether it's randomness, mutation, etc.
Give me one more thing while you know that it was designed in about purpose that makes you know, and it verifies in your spirit that there's a God. One more thing. With purpose.
So another one would be, like I told you guys a while ago, when I was younger and I first got to be introduced to religion, because my mom is Catholic, hardcore Catholic, and we were introduced to a thing called CCD. I forgot what that stands for, but it's basically Catholic Church on Sunday mornings for us over here on the southwest side of Chicago. So I'm pretty sure that's a Catholic thing around the United States, or maybe it's just over here in Illinois. But whatever. The point is when I first got introduced to that, in my first experience with the spiritual world, intuition, or the energy or the spirit, whatever adjective people want to describe this feeling, when you're basically told, hey, this is what you should be doing, this is what I'm telling you, and this is what you shouldn't be doing, right? The best way I'm going to describe it for those who are listening is intuition. My intuition kicked in and told me, don't listen to any of this dumbass shit. Do not listen to any of it. This religion is not it. It is evil. It is bad. Ignore them all. Disregard them and follow me.
You tying this into how you know it's a God, right? From a coding perspective, right?
This is just a spiritual point now.
Okay, you can do that. Go ahead. You can do that. Go ahead.
Now I'm going to the spiritual side of things, because from a coding standpoint, for those who do know, coding, you would know that coding has a design purpose, and I think we've kind of covered that. Everything has everything's designed with a reason, a purpose. A chair, right? I'm looking at a chair right now.
Right.
Secret Lab chair that I bought for to chill and sit down when we were gaming. That somebody sat there and it's pretty expensive, right? Somebody sat there and made it designed to be insanely super comfortable and nice to sit down, play games, chill, whatever, right?
but comfortable.
I'm looking at shoes, right? There's different kind of shoes. You have I have Jordans. I have dress shoes when I used to go to work dressing professionally. I have some casual shoes. There's these shoes there, all of them designed differently. They have the same function. Somebody sat there and took the time to design them in the way that they did. You can apply this to vehicles. You can apply this to all the technology we have. You can apply it to the world we have now too. When it comes to rivers, when it comes to land masses, all these different land masses produce different kind of soil that then produce different kind of vegetables, fruits, vegetation, and all this different type of stuff. Somebody had to have created all that. Somebody. And it's not this evolution in science that people try to push down upon you. I'm sorry to say that it doesn't sit there and explain it. The Big Bang Theory is way too easy of an answer to explain the amount of complexity on this planet.
Right.
And not only just this planet, how complex human beings are too.
Right. So what I hear you saying is that design and purpose is how you know and what correlates in your spirit or your mind that there is a God. All right? That's what I hear you saying?
Uh-huh.
So two-piece you up, bro. How you know it's a God? Why you believe it's a God?
Well, I'm gonna give you my ignorant answer first. You know what I'm saying? And
that's always Warren. Go ahead and do your thing.
hey, look, my number one that I know, bruh, is because God created women for me. You know what I'm saying? And women are cold.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
look, there has to be a God.
I gotta say, my tan Negro. And I'm gonna say it since I can't say how I want to say it.
Hey,
my
bro,
tan
look,
Negro.
man, there's no other logical explanation. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's the coolest thing that was said tonight. You know what I'm saying? That's the best thing that was said.
Hey, look, I'm gonna keep it real, But I'm just gonna piggyback off what Insane said a little bit ago about everything having a purpose, but mine's just a little bit different. That I take it back into like free will. You know what I'm saying? When Insane was talking about viruses and this and that. You know what I'm saying? Every living organism has free will. Because you can see that even in viruses, because I don't know where a virus, like, you know what, fuck this, I'm tired of being this, and it evolves, it becomes stronger, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So just like us, you know what I'm saying? That's why I believe that, in that free will stuff. But
how you tie that into it being a God though? Because you have free will. Because how do you tie that into knowing there's a God?
Because if the reason I believe that I know that you said there's a God, right?
Yeah. How do you know, or why do you believe, or have a strong validation within yourself that there's a God based off free will?
Because I just believe that God didn't want us to be like robots. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's why a little bit, like we was talking about earlier, it's a little bit like coding is like got to be perfect, right? Like the same was saying earlier. But
did you say that? I don't remember. You say that?
Because everything got to function in a certain way, right?
Like it could be glitches and bugs and all, and you could argue that we have some of those now, right? Glitches and bugs.
Maybe we don't. Maybe
maybe he wanted that to happen.
Maybe he wanted it to happen.
But go ahead.
Maybe it's designed to happen.
Right.
Damn, I lost my train of thought right there.
Talking about free will and
yeah.
You talking about?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to that, it just by God giving us free. I mean, I believe there's a God
like robots.
because He gave us
like robots.
Yeah.
Robots.
Yeah. Because He didn't want no robots, right? So He gave me the free will to believe in Him, and like spiritually, He is telling me that He's there. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to put into words.
No. So that's cool. That's all right to say it that way. Because guess what? What you're saying is leaning more toward the spirit. in my opinion, what I would call the spirit. You know, there's a God, right? Because like for instance, let's say if you was on drugs real bad and you got off, like, and you just happened to get off, and you, by your own strength and power, you don't think it was just that. But there's no empirical evidence, or there's no evidence that can be validated with math and science that God did it. But you know in your heart that God helped you get off this drugs, this cocaine, or this crazy stuff you was doing, right? But that's leaning more toward the spiritual side. Now, the law or the natural side of like science and understanding, like what Gene Bean is leaning toward with like math and like that's also God and how he see it. He said design and how he sees it working. So you leaning more toward the spirit and what the spirit is saying, because that validates, because whatever you believe, you can't say you don't believe that's why there's a God. But you're leaning more toward that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let's not hold the video too much long. I don't want to run too long. But I was saying this, Gene Bean, and I like when you was talking and you said that matter of fact, we was talking about outer space, right? So for one, like we said earlier, that's what they call it, outer space, right? So if it's outer space, who said to call it that, first of all? And how, and then their definition is what? Their indoctrination, how they see it. And just them calling it that. Who said it's outer and that maybe you were supposed to be able to traverse it? Or maybe it has a purpose that has nothing to do with the term outer space. And that just throws you off because the original purpose of it, design, a mind and a wheel gave it design and purpose. It was designed and it has a purpose. And they're calling it outer space, right? But who says that's what it is? Or maybe that's like throwing you off for the real reason that it exists. And that's just some wild, really like deep shit. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? But you get what I'm saying?
I think it's a distraction. I think it's all a distraction, right? Because, like I told you too, recently I don't believe in UFOs anymore. I recently decided to stop believing in UFOs and stop believing in aliens because it just so happens to be since COVID till now, they're just the government is now releasing information on their own website saying, "Hey, yeah, we know about UFOs. We've been known about it. We're going to release some documents soon." And they released that one video, and
you're like, "Oh no, this is some bullshit." So,
right. And when that happened, that's when I was like, "Oh my God, this is BS. This has always been BS. Now I've been believing in it, thinking, how could there possibly not be life out there?" And now I'm going, nope, there can't be any life out there. It just so happens to be that they're trying to push it, right? Just like COVID too. When we were told about COVID, I at first was scared of it and what was happening, and then out of nowhere they're like, "We're gonna make a vaccine. It's gonna take 2 years."
Hold on. Don't say nothing too deep. You already know how YouTube get, bro. Don't say nothing too crazy about that. You already know, bro. You already know.
I guess I'll just stop there. But the point is they tell us one thing, and then they change the story. They change the story later, and they try to push it so hard. If they try to push something so hard onto you, like again, these UFOs, they're trying to make it sound like, yeah, we kind of knew about it. But it's like, dude, this whole time they've been so-called covering it up, and now they want to push this information like it's real, like
it's hotcakes, like
it's hotcakes. To me, it sounds like another form of distraction, another form of getting your attention elsewhere. It's all about distracting human beings. That's the whole point of the media and the information that they push.
Let me ask you this on some other like next level type. So in God's design, right, as a architect, an engineer, as a coder, what and how do you see and relate to this being that he created, if you believe in him, called Satan?
Say that question again. I just want to
from your coding, from your computer programming perspective, right? Almost getting into the mind of God, which you can't, but
Okay.
what do you have to say from that perspective about this being that God calls Satan or the devil existing, being him the great spirit and this good love and whatever you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a little difficult to say that because it would require that I read the book more. But from
No,
what I understand,
from just. I mean, I guess you can, but that's not what I just to stop you because that's
yeah,
not
yeah,
really what I'm
I
asking.
know.
An
But
evil
I,
entity, regardless of that book, or
yeah,
something
to me,
that's raised. Let me say this real quick. So the definition, and I kind of want to give you a little piece of something tangible to go off. So Satan is universally known and understood as an evil being who's in opposition to the creator, engineer, coding God, right?
uh
Coder. So why would he, come on, give me that. I know you got a lot dealing with that, bro. I know you
so
got something.
so I do have a lot, but in terms of just him directly speaking about this so-called Satan, it's all going to be belief system now. I don't have no facts or proofs or anything with
So
what I'm going to say.
so you
It's
don't
more of
so
a
so you don't have nothing like when it comes to, let's say, bro, I don't know if you can relate this, but let's say I've been a good person all my life, right? And then I create this fucking like robot that's super evil that just started killing and annihilating humans, and I did it on purpose. What would you say about me and the way I was designed? And can you kind of correlate that to a God who created this being that's destroying what he seen? You get what I'm getting at?
yeah.
So
So you're fucked up.
so what I'm saying is that what I'm getting into it now. If you want to call God fucked up, I know you probably not saying that, but what,
Kind of.
bruh, you get well. But hey, say how you feel. Say how you say. Say how you want to say it. But if God created this being, right, and He has purpose and design, as you said, to everything else, and you call Him a great spirit, and you seem to think that He's good, right? So why would a being who's in that trained in that line of thinking create a being from a coding perspective? It's almost like you created a program or come on, help me. You created a video game and then there's something inside the video game destroying it. You get what I'm saying? You created
Well,
also something. You get what I'm saying? Like it's
no, I
like I
don't
create.
because that's not how you would create a game, anyways.
That's what.
But
But you get what I'm saying. You don't understand what I'm
no,
saying.
I
So
don't.
so let
No.
me try to explain it more. So
Hey, hey,
let's say
hey, hey,
you get what I'm
hold on.
saying?
Let me.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
look. So, in a perspective to put it in one, when it comes to, I would say just say a computer, right?
Uh-huh.
The devil will be a virus. You know what I'm saying?
Or
Because
that's like no. I think maybe I
because
think more we
it's
trying to
tearing
start.
up it's tearing up what was created that was intention for one thing and it's destroying it
I
down. You know what I'm saying?
well I kind of think so too. I think Insane might disagree, but let's
See,
say you have a computer. Let me say this real quick, and then you can chime in. I won't say nothing. So let's say you have the computer that 2P spoke of, right? This computer, hypothetical like computer, right? And then let's say I created it to work and to function in perfection to what I wanted to do, right? And then let's say I put this fucking little nasty little robot thing in there that's just start tearing it up like slowly. And just start I made this both of them. And then I put it in there and then I say that I want the computer to work the way I want it to work. And I like the computer and I love the computer and I made it for a purpose. You got something to say, Pete? And then I put
Yeah.
this little robot side thing inside the computer that just started fucking it up. Now, Insane.
Okay.
Now, or two
Okay.
piece good.
Look. So I'm gonna put it to you like you said, God and the devil in there. So I'm gonna put it to you this way. So there's a computer, right?
uh,
Computer working fine, but if God is the one, if God is the computer, right, or like created the computer in a specific way, right?
uh.
Uh, but he tell you certain things you shouldn't do, right? But your ass is still, but your ass is still gonna watch his porn, risking your computer. So he's punishing your ass. You know what I'm saying? It gives your ass a virus. Now your computer ain't working no more. You know what I'm
And
saying?
then you want to
but
call God an evil fuck. but you've been fucking in the
But
territory,
but he gave you
right?
the warning
Right?
signs.
No,
You know what I'm saying? It's
no,
all
no,
there.
because another human being engineered the virus, engineered the website, added the virus there, and created it so that when you do click on it, it will download onto your computer. And when it does get downloaded onto your computer, it runs an executable file and then runs the virus. So I would disagree on
So
that. Now,
listen,
in terms of
go ahead, speak your shit, speak
now,
your
if
shit.
we're going to talk in terms of like Satan, the way you're wording it, it's kind of confusing and hard for me to answer
Because
because
from your perspective, right?
from my even with my perspective, I can't really answer what Satan is, why he is, and what he is in the sense of like from whoever designed it, because I didn't design him, right? But what I can say at most about him is that I do believe he's an absolute existing entity. I
Why did you
believe
say absolute before you said the entity, existing
because
entity?
because right now there's evil shit and it's been happening since the beginning of time of human time till now. Evil shit happens and it continues to
Oh,
happen.
so I think you mean by absolute that he's a consistent motherfucker that's been doing this shit
I,
since the beginning. He gonna
yes,
keep doing
yes
it,
and
and
no.
he. Okay,
What I meant by absolute is, and I mean, I absolutely believe he is real.
okay,
That's what I
okay,
meant by absolute. But
okay.
he's also the absolute in terms of what's happening around the world, in the sense of where things are, where they're at. Because I believe it's really hard because I'm kind of diverting from your question and going
Okay.
into other things, but I have to because I feel like it best explains my perspective as a whole about why I believe he's real and what's happening with the world that it is in the way that it is now. Um, when you look at movies, right? Movies, the point of a lot of these movies, it's another form of indoctrination and to mold your mind into a certain way that they want you to think, so they can have this, mob thinking mindset. That
Yeah, a
I don't know
blob
if you
on.
noticed with recent movies and shows, there's a lot of dimension stuff, a lot of multiverse. There's been a lot of multiverse movies and shows, and a lot of these dimension slash multiverse
Realms.
movies and shows. There's these realms of all these evil entities from all these other dimensions,
Yeah.
from these other worlds, these outer spaces. These entities are going to come upon
In the
humanity and
apocalypse.
destroy it. Yes, you can. The interpretation, in my opinion, right, with when it comes to movies and music, shows, etc., so media, forms of content of media, they're used to form your mind to think in a certain way, right? With 9/11, right? 9/11 is associated with Osama bin Laden. It's
Don't
also associated with
don't get
Islam.
too deep. I'm sorry, I can't let you get ready. Don't
It,
get
it,
too
it
deep
can't
into that,
it
honey.
can't because this is
Okay.
true. This has
YouTube,
nothing to
bro.
do with what we know has occurred in history, where movies and music were used to portray a certain group of people as these so-called AKA terrorists, pushing a stereotype, and it enforced that stereotype on the mindset of human beings to make when they then gave us the answer of Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda as being the perpetrators of this incident, humanity kind of just accepted it immediately. That was
Right.
that
So
was
so
conditioning through
so
movies and shows
correlating.
from the 90s that portrayed a lot of these Arab Muslim individuals through Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and all
Right.
these other type of movies of
So so
action-packed movies.
so you
It conditioned them. So what I'm trying to say is when it comes to recent movies and content with multiverse, dimensions, aliens, there's always this constant um, evil entity or entities that are going to come down and descend upon humanity. We're always shown and portrayed as these things to be evil. So you can kind of correlate it to them trying to say something's coming down upon us and it's evil and it's from
how do you
out of
tie
this
that in?
world.
How do you tie that in to Satan though, and how he
So
exists?
the way I'm tying it into Satan is because the people might interpret that to be Satan, but I would argue that that's the interpretation of uh,
I agree.
what you had been told me.
I agree.
You told me about what would happen if Jesus were to come down, right? Everybody has been conditioned in the mindset that when it comes to Christianity, it's you accept Jesus, end of discussion. He's going to come down, pull all his people that he loves and cares, and take them with them. But that's not what the Old Testament says, right? The Old Testament says he's going to come.
Pull up. Turn it on. Pull up.